Hello, welcome back to the Lap Down podcast, where my name is Dan and his name is Alex, and we talk about Formula One motorsport car racing over an audio platform because we just love it. How are you, AB?
I'm not bad. I'm not bad. It's been a quiet old little time again. It feels like everyone's been very quiet lately. I don't, just in general. And we're in the midst of what is, in theory, quite a close run drivers' championship fight. And even that feels quite quiet. Like, I don't know about you, but it's... If this was drivers from two different teams, I think it would be really exciting. But it's almost because they're from the same team, it doesn't feel that exciting. But it should still, surely.
I'll buy it. I'll buy it. Completely buy that. That sounds completely logical, and I think I agree with you. The other thing as well that's a bit boring as well is when people just sign their contracts early. That gives us nothing to kind of rumour over as to who's going to go where and what's going to happen next and all this other good stuff. So sort your lives out, F1.
Yeah,
Sort your lives out. Give us some entertainment, will you, for a week of Prix Azerbaijan. It's a great country name to say, isn't it? Like, you can add some real panache. I don't know whether that's the correct and local dialect and how to pronounce Azerbaijan, but you can really kind of spice that one up, can't you? Maybe throughout the course of this episode, we can say Azerbaijan in as many different kind of ways as we possibly can.
Azerbaijan.
Each time. Exactly. We'll just slide a few in there. So if you're listening, enjoy it. There's just a few Easter eggs for you. And if you're new here, subscribe to the channel, like the video, drop us a review on the podcast, share it with a Formula One friend. Because hey, look, we're good people and we make good shit. So
yes,
apart from the swearing,
and all those things help. All those things help. I think it's the soft J in Bajan. I think that's why there's not many soft J's you get otherwise.
No. Could you make it a hard J? Azerbaijan.
Oh, okay. I was going to go at Azerbaijan. Azerbaijan doesn't sound as nice a place as Azerbaijan.
No, it doesn't actually, does it, to be fair?
Ironically, though, I would say Azerbaijan, that reflects the track layout more because there's a lot of pointy corners on the Baku circuit.
Yeah.
So if I was to put the name into the track, it would be Azerbaijan because Azerbaijan feels a bit more sort of like maggots and Beckett's and cops and flowy.
True. Do you need a space between Azerbaijan, or is it still one word?
Azerbaijan. No, I think you can roll it. You can still roll it together. It's just trickier to force yourself to say.
A bit like aubergine.
Yeah, aubergine is just someone that doesn't really know how to pronounce Azerbaijan. That's Azerbaijan after like 4 pints.
Where are you going on holiday this week? Aubergine.
It's the Aubergine Grand Prix.
The Aubergine Grand Prix.
It's only Lewis Hamilton in that one. It's just 20 Lewis Hamiltons on the grid. Right. Let's do some actual chat about Formula One, shall we? We have a couple of emails that we'll get to later. Our favourite Canadians, Ryan and Jamie, are back, and so is our favourite Andrew. Andrew's back as well, so we've got a couple of emails from them. But talking of who's on the grid, there's still a couple of places up for grabs next year. And so I'm going to phrase this question to you in the simplest way, that we've got 4 Red Bull seats for next year, and we've got realistically 5 drivers trying to sit in 4 seats. So who are your 4 Red Bull drivers, please? And where are you going to divvy them into your 4 seats from the 5?
I mean, I can only really throw back to a rumour that I read online the other day whilst I was doom scrolling my way through social media, but it was the fact that Isaac Hadjar was going to get promoted up to the senior team to sit alongside Max Verstappen next year in 2026. Then Arvin Lindblad would take over Hadjar's seat at the whatever the fuck they want to be called next week. It's kind of, I don't know. No, I'm not going to say what I was about to say there because that's a very kind of controversial and political thing. But then they were talking about the fact that it was going to be Lawson or Sonoda. Now, Lindblad, fine. Look, promote the youth through, get somebody else in there, find your next 4-time world champion that's going to take your team forward, because that's how Red Bull has worked over the years. That's what they do. They've got this program. They nurture them. Helmut Marko tells them to fuck off every now and again and calls them nasty and hurty words. And if they make it through, then more often than not, they turn out to be a 4-time world champion, which is brilliant. Do that with Lindblad. My issue is with Sonoda and Lawson, neither of them are going to be that person. I don't think you could not give them 100 more Grand Prix, either of them, And I genuinely don't think we would find out that they're any better than what they currently are. So at that point there, and it might well be the simple equation is the fact there isn't another Arvin Lindblad to sit in that sister team yet. There might not be another person ready, that maybe they're a bit further down the ranks and Red Bull aren't prepared to put them in there. And that's fine, that's an equal argument. But genuinely, between Lawson and Tsunoda, I mean, Lawson, he's come across like an absolute waste man across the course of this year, hasn't he? I mean, what has he done in 2025? And Tsunoda, maybe if there was some form of sponsorship package to do with some form of Japanese business plan or something that was being brought into the team, then I could see the benefit for that as well. I like both of them as people. I think they're both good fun people, but I don't think they're going to be a 4-time world champion for Red Bull.
Yeah, and I find it hard to disagree, really. They've sort of each done as well and as badly as each other in both teams, really. We didn't get a chance to talk about it last week, but I feel like Yuki's really going under the radar with how poorly he's doing, and he hasn't had the same pressure put on him for his results than other people have. Yep. So, like, obviously Max, great drive last week, but Yuki was something like 80 seconds behind him. 80 seconds around Monza. Like, that's too many seconds. You can't be that far behind in the same car that wasn't even... No, the car's not suddenly going to become really easy to drive. I don't know how to drive an F1 car. It wasn't Max on the radio being like, God, I am wrestling this thing like an absolute bronco today. Like, Max wasn't really complaining about the car. And if Max isn't complaining about the car is, at least it's not a complete donkey that week. And he's 80 seconds behind. And I can't tell you a time, as someone that's watched every competitive session this year, I can't tell you a time where I've gone, oh, Yuki did well. Like, it's almost a surprise when he makes it into Q3. And that's exactly what it was with Lawson. And when Yuki was at VCARB, he was doing all right. And now that Lawson's back at VCARB, he's comparatively doing all right. So, no, I do agree. My question to you, which you semi-answered already, who else then? Which, hey, guess what? We don't do a huge amount of background research in this podcast, and I'm not great with my knowledge of who's in the feeder teams. I couldn't give you another name as to who's waiting in the wings for Red Bull. I'm sure they're incubating someone somewhere. It'll be a child in a lab somewhere that's connected to all sorts of tubes and whatever. So I think it has to be one of them, because I just don't think there is that, unless they go really rogue and they stick a Mick Schumacher or something in it, which they're not going to do. So I'll put you on the spot, right? We'll assume that it's Max and Hajar at Red Bull, and we'll assume that it's locked in, that it's Lindblad at VCARB. Who are you picking out of... It's going to be one of Tsunoda or Lawson.
Tsunoda.
Yeah?
Every day of the week.
Because he's cute and funny?
No, because I think he's genuinely good.
Yeah.
Like, he was very good in that VCARB Racing Bull thing at the start of the year, wasn't he? And... There you go. I'm going to answer my question with another question for you.
Ooh, we like doing that in this pod. It helps us get to 35 minutes.
It's kind of on the same line, because I've already answered your question. I'd pick Tsunoda, and I wouldn't really give it much more thought than that. But what happens if Hajar goes and takes the keys for the number 2 Red Bull and stinks the house out for the first 4 races of the season? What happens then?
So, I think he has got more of a free kick than others did, because it's new regs. So I think we don't... He's going to have a longer leash, and it's a phrase we've definitely used on this podcast before. I think he's going to have a longer leash and more rope than others did, because we don't know what's good. And the Red Bull might be a lower midfield car. Probably not going to be, but it might be a lower midfield car, certainly through the first half of the season. I mean, every day there's a new report about how far so many teams are so far behind, and the engines can't complete a lap, and the battery's not good. Like, there's so many variables, and the cars are slower and all the rest of it. So I feel like it's almost the best time to be pulled up into that team, because we don't know what good is. We know what Max is, but Max is, and I know I just compared Yuki to Max and he was 80 seconds behind or whatever, but Max is Max. We don't know what that baseline is. So I think he'll have certainly the first half of the year to find his feet in it while they work out what car they've got under them.
Okay.
After that, God knows.
What if we played? What if we had a bit of role play? What if we
Oh, here we
spiced
go.
things up a little
I'll
bit?
get my outfit on.
How about I'm Isaac Hadjar, you're Helmut Marko, and we're
Oh, I
four
don't like
races.
people. Oh.
We're 4 races into 2026. I've finished 16th. I've DNF'd because I've spun and put it in the wall by myself in the second Grand Prix. 12th after Max won, and then 15th. No points for me so far, and I've caused a bit of damage for you in race 2. You've got Sonoda, you've got Lindblad sat in the sister team. What is Helmut Marko doing?
Dying? I don't know. Um, I. Oh, they
He's
have
the
to.
one that pulls the strings, right? He's the one that makes that decision. So I completely agree with your absolutely sensible and logical, well thought out, well articulated answer with regards to regulations and leashes and expectation and comparisons and all that great stuff that you put together. But I don't know whether Helmut Marko has any form of empathy, sympathy, sense, brain, emotional intelligence, anything like that going on. So that's the thing that concerns me with that.
Yeah, is he? I feel like I hear less from him recently, which I enjoy massively. And I feel like since Mechis came in and the whole Horner thing has blown over, I feel like I hear less from Helmut Marko, and that is a wonderful thing for everybody in the world. So, I would hesitate to say, does he have the same influence that he used to have? But he doesn't seem to. There was a risk, or not a risk, but there was an opportunity perhaps when Horner got bumped out. All of a sudden, we were going to hear a lot more Marko wank, and that hasn't really sort of happened. And whether or not he's getting soft in his even older age, but there's no seemingly pressure on Sonoda at the minute, bar the fact that it sounds like he's almost certainly either being bumped out of the sport or being bumped out to the junior team for next year. But it's not as if that the talk is doing that now. You know, all the talk with 8 races to go in the season is 2026 related. So whether or not there's a slight changing in the guard that Mechis has come in and been like, we need to stop changing the drivers every 3 races, pick one and give him a go. And I think that's what they have to do. I think they have to back someone eventually. It doesn't have to be multi-year, but you've got to back him for at least 2/3 of the season. Yeah. Otherwise, you're never going to get anywhere. So, to answer your exact question, what does he say? Probably something sexist and racist and whatever. I don't foresee real heavy criticism. I think they will somehow the PR team will get through to him, or Mechis will get through to him, or something will happen that they will say there's so much variability at the start of 26. Let's just keep our head down and not be. Yeah. I also think this is think/hope. We could actually see, and we saw it at the start of these regs, some wonderfully mixed up results. And I know I'm sort of potentially repeating the point I made before, but is a P13 in round 2 next year actually a P13, or are we going to see P6 one week, P13 the next week, because we don't know those cards yet. So that's what I would say. I also agree with you. I think in terms of what those 4 drivers look like next year, I think I prefer Sonoda. I think Sonoda's got the more experience. I actually think they're more likely to go with Lawson I mean, I don't think he's that much younger than Yuki. It's not as if he's like the junior prospect, but I think they're going to go. I think they would be more inclined to go, Yuki, you've had a longer run at this, and it hasn't really come together. We're not really in bed with Honda anymore. Is Ford a little bit more oceanic? I know it's American, but I feel like it's a little bit more oceanic potentially, and that helps with New Zealand. But yeah, it's a mess.
Leads quite nicely into the first email of the episode, though.
It does. Should we jump into?
I think we should.
Ryan and Jamie's email about V-Carb and Red Bull. So this is from a couple of weeks back. So it's not necessarily as directly relevant anymore, but it is a wider picture thing. So our favourite Canadian said, it starts with a quote from Max, and I believe this might have been after the Dutch Grand Prix. But Max said, the whole race we were basically fighting with our sister team on pure pace, and that shouldn't be happening. So the question from Ryan and Jamie was, why shouldn't this be happening? If VCarb builds a better car and are faster than the Red Bull, then that should be happening. If VCarb isn't there to try and win, then why are they there at all? Are they there to provide additional data to Red Bull's strategic advantages by having 4 cars on track? This is exactly why 2 teams on the grid shouldn't be owned by one conglomerate, and comments like this only strengthen the argument. What's your opinion on this matter, Dan? Go.
Similar to team orders at McLaren, it's a bit yucky, isn't it?
Yeah.
It does make you feel uncomfortable, and I saw something quite fascinating, and I mean, they based it on no statistics whatsoever, but they turned around and said that if Max was in that V-Carb this year, he'd actually still be competing for a world championship, which I thought was kind of an interesting point. And whether it would be true or not, obviously we have no idea whether that simulation would be possible to figure out. But yes, in the idea of sport, then it should be absolutely fine that V-Carb or Racing Bulls or RB or whatever they want to be called has built as good of a car, if not better, a car than their big brother this week. It shouldn't matter. And if they outscore both of them, absolutely fine. No problem with it whatsoever, because that's what sport's like, and they shouldn't be as closely lined up as they are. But we don't really see it because there is normally a big enough gap between the two teams. But would they / could they act as a rear gunner to a Max Verstappen if they were called upon to do so at a crunch moment of time in a world championship battle? Could they do that? Do they have the power to do that? How does that happen? Obviously, I don't believe the two teams can just pick the phone up and talk to one another down the pit wall, but one person who's kind of playing Pinocchio, Punch and Judy on the top of the kind of pit walls, has he got the ability to turn around and just drop a WhatsApp through to both team principals and go, this is what's going to happen, lads? We see it quite a lot with V-Carbs jumping out the way of Red Bulls. They don't exactly fight, do they? Sorry, V-Carb jumping out the way of a Red Bull. They don't fight. They don't get in the way. That is very, very clear to possibly an unwritten rule that when you see that number one, you get the fuck out the way as quick as you possibly can. You do not battle with him. You do not hold him up. You do not get in the way. And I think even at that point there, that makes you feel a bit stinky about it, because it's not sport, is it? Are we better off? Genuinely, are we better off just kind of them turning around and saying, yeah, it's our junior team. They work for us. This is it. We have 4 drivers. This is how we work. And that's fine. And it opens up the ability for Mercedes to go, hey, Williams, you fancy a little partnership going on here? And then Aston Martin could do it with somebody else, and blah, blah, blah. And you kind of build these kind of teams within teams. I don't like the fact that we kind of get mugged off in a sense of, no, we're separate entities. No, we got nothing to do with that. It's just not true. It isn't true. They do benefit one team to the other. Whether it goes as far as data, do they provide data? Do they use their extra wind tunnel resources by running Red Bull parts on V-Carbs and figuring things out for that? I don't think they do. I'd be very surprised. But again, I probably wouldn't be shocked if that were the case.
Well, it's interesting, and we do this a lot on the pod. I'm going to bring it back to cricket. So in cricket, you have what's called a PMOA area, right? And it's an anti-corruption thing. It's the players and match officials area. And in that area, on international televised games, there's no phones. Well, there's actually no electronic communication devices. You can't wear an Apple Watch on the field, for example, because you could be given messaging through that on field. And it's designed to prevent corruption of people, match fixing and all the rest of it. There is no PMOA in Formula One, because we've heard stories of a couple of weeks ago, we had James Vowles sending a WhatsApp through to Toto Wolff from mid-race being like, sorry. Was that Monaco, maybe, I think? And
I think so.
That feels ripe for corruption, doesn't it? So where you say, obviously they don't have pit wall to pit wall communication.
No one will find that out.
No, definitely not. That's where they've got no pit wall to pit wall communication, but they absolutely do, because their phone is just sat there. So they could just send a voice note being like, get out of the fucking way. Which, if you're going to have that, then just let them talk to each other on the pit wall. Sod it. And I hadn't previously sort of thought about the team game of just making it like Survivor and just having them go a battle royale of like alliances this week. of Alpine picking up the phone or whatever.
Yeah.
I don't mind it. Don't mind it at all. Obviously, and it is yucky, right? I slightly get it. I understand why they're there, right? And I think that maybe gets lost a little bit, is that Red Bull were asked by Formula One, fuck me, we've got a team here that's in trouble, the sport's in trouble, would you have a second team, please?
Yeah.
So I don't blame Red Bull at all. Red Bull helped out the sport, and an opportunity was presented to them by the sport, and they took it. I'll throw this question at you. Say Haas decides we've had enough here, and Renault go, we'll have them. Yeah, we'll take that. We've got Alpine, we'll have a Renault team again. Does the FIA go, yeah, cool, fine with that? Do fans go, sound good to me, yellow team back on, no problem with 2 Renault teams on that grid? Yep. Or do people kick up more of a stink of buying up and grouping teams like they're bloody monopoly properties?
I don't know. Maybe you could get away with it if you put it under some form of that acronym name that didn't actually say Renault, but did include the word Alpine in there somehow. Some ways. I don't know how they
diamond shapes on it somewhere.
Exactly, yeah. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, the thing's gone too deep now. It's not exactly just going to get ripped out, is it?
They're there and you can't kick them out.
Exactly. So. It's ingrained in it. It's bedded in now. There's no way that Red Bull are going to walk away from the investment, and it's very unlikely anybody's going to have the kind of capital and cash to walk in and just buy that second team off Red Bull.
Yeah.
Because ultimately, because of what we've spoken about, it is genuinely worth more than what I think a lot of people would be prepared to admit that it is worth to Red Bull. So it's only really been this year, hasn't it? And we've got away with it because the Red Bull is uncompetitive and they're not fighting for a championship.
Yeah.
That's what we've got away with. If Max were to be closer to the front, would that other team and driver have been used in other ways? Who knows? It's hypotheticals. We don't know, and I'm not going to sit here and say that it would, because that would be wrong, and that would just generate a lot of kind of hate. And to be fair, we've bashed Red Bull for 22 minutes on this podcast, and I'm not convinced that that we're going to make many friends on this one. But yeah, I don't know. I could. My gut tells me that if push came to shove, V-Carb or Toro Rosso or whatever the team is would be used as a pawn in order to benefit the top team if chips were on the table.
And I think the point you make there about it's never really mattered before, I think is the right one. If we go back to like 2021 again, for example, if we had this level of performance from the sister team in 2021, guarantee you that they are running Lewis Hamilton off the fucking road. They just couldn't because they were 80 seconds behind again. So, I don't think it's as easy to do that in blue flags, but if you're actually genuinely fighting for position, it's easier to claim racing incidents and whatever. So, I think they would. It is what it is. I think we've got to accept it. I actually think it is probably all quite innocent, and I don't think there's a huge amount of learning to be taken from it. I'm sure there is some level of monitoring of what goes between teams, but I know there's certainly, officially anyway, it's not like they're sharing secrets in wind tunnels or whatever. And I also think for as long as we have Haas-style teams that are buying, and it's fully within the regulations. This is not shade on Haas whatsoever. They are maximising what they are allowed to do in the agreed rules. But I don't know the exact percentage, like 60% or whatever of that Haas is just bought in parts from a Ferrari. Correct. So for as long as we're not mandating that you make 100% of the parts of your own car, please, here's the rule book, then, if Ferrari and Haas wanted to shake hands and say, we'll give you can pick at our homework and we'll pick at yours, then if it's going to happen, it's going to happen, isn't it? So, a question that you briefly posed just before we started the pod, which has absolutely no bearing whatsoever and isn't really a viable thing, but just on the back of the idea of sister teams and helping each other in driver placements and whatever. Sainz this year, great driver, not having a great one at Williams. Probably better than that Williams, albeit the Williams has been pretty good this year. Antonelli, we've nearly talked about it a couple of times in the pod. We've never quite pulled the trigger on how that slightly awkward conversation of how he's doing.
Yeah.
Driver swap between Mercedes and Williams. I don't really know what either team stands to gain from it. Like it is a completely pointless, like, would you rather back into your own mum or dad kind of argument, right? Like that's the level of conversation this is.
Oh,
but
yeah.
Driver swap him? Or do you just go, you know what, Antonelli, just give him as much time as possible. He is clearly talented and it's just not quite working yet.
Yeah. It was an interesting point, wasn't it? It was a complete hypothetical. I could see Antonelli gaining a lot from it, because you go to a smaller team. There's less pressure. There's less expectation. You're unlikely to accidentally pick up a podium like you might do for Mercedes, and all of a sudden it's like, wow, this kid's going to be the next. And then next week it's 9th, next week it's 12th, next week it's 14th, next week it's 15th, and so on and so forth. And then people are going, oh well, maybe he's not. It depends. I suppose it depends as to how well Mercedes manage that pressure and expectation on him, isn't there? What are those conversations behind closed doors? Is it a case of, Kimi, you should be picking up as many points as George does? Because did you know George drives Formula One cars?
George
Roussel?
Oh, Roussel from Azerbaijan.
Yes.
Yeah.
Azerbaijan. How do they manage that? Do they put the pressure on it? What's the expectation? Because I guess in the long game, if it does work for Mercedes and Kimi Antonelli, then it's brilliant, isn't it? If they can, to use your word, incubate him for a prolonged period of time in that big boy team, then we could potentially be building some hell of a kind of a Frankenstein type monster thing that's going to dominate in 2026. Or you could see that another way, similar to what Valtteri did, similar to what Jorge Roussel did at the Williams team, that you just leave them out there and you just go, just go and learn your way around. Doesn't matter. We don't care what you do. Williams are dog shit at that time anyway, so it doesn't really matter. They don't really care what you do either. And we'll pick you back up when we feel like we need you.
Yeah. No, and hey, there's no point us spending a huge amount of time because it's not going to happen. But I think it's worked out well for Georgie Russ, having a little bit longer possibly than was ideal. And I know Claire Williams has come out a couple of times being like, they tried to take him earlier and I had to be like, you can't, otherwise we're not surviving. And that's worked out well for Woody. So interesting one. Also on Mr. Sainz, before we move on to one last email and then picking some drivers for this weekend. Curious to get your feelings and vibes and thoughts on the fact that the FIA have backtracked and rescinded the penalty that was, I think we can all agree, wrongly given to him initially in the race. They've had another look at it and they've gone, actually, we fucked it. So we'll take your penalty points away. Doesn't impact anything for the race. He was 17 seconds behind anyway, but because he'd served his penalty, they couldn't take 10 seconds off his time because they hadn't put them onto his time. I suppose the question, and the easiest way to phrase the question is, how comfortable are you with changing decisions like that were subjective decisions a week after the race? And if we use the FIO's own rule of like, you have to bring considerably new evidence that we did not have before, which they can't have done here because the telemetry existed. All they can have brought is a couple of extra camera angles. Well, it's not like we didn't have camera angles of it.
And some tears.
Where does it sit with you? Thoughts? Should they have just gone, we probably got that one wrong. We reviewed it as officials. We got that one wrong. See you in Baku. Or is it right that they've gone, we reviewed it. Actually, we got that wrong. Sod it. Undo it.
I think you have to go for the first one.
Yeah.
Because if that had been the difference between him finishing 8th and 11th, you can't then kind of reinstate points, can you? You can't run equations through and simulations to find out whether he would have finished 9th in the end or whatever that would have been, and they therefore take points away from somebody else to give them the points back on a hypothetical that may or may not have happened. Did they just do it because they knew it wouldn't have actually affected the outcome of the Grand Prix, which gives them a bit of a free hit to play
They've
around
just taken
with
penalty points off him at this point,
again, that which could be important, to be fair.
True.
That could be important, and I don't think Sainz is anywhere near any form of limit in order getting a race ban, but you could have a driver that's kind of near that and you think, oh shit, I really need to get rid of those 2 points because if I don't, then I'm going to be in the bin next week. So yes, I suppose that is important. But in terms of the actual kind of race times or anything like that, you just have to leave them as is, because otherwise it creates another bit of inconsistency that we've been complaining about on this podcast with regards to stewarding.
My concern with it is there's always like a waterfall follow-on effect from different things, right? So it didn't happen in this instance, right? But say out of that, one of them gets a hole in their side pod, loses a shitload of performance and goes tumbling down the order. Well, we can't then start impacting the race result after the race result because we looked back at it, because then all of a sudden there are 19 other drivers that their race changed. If there'd have been a safety car come out from that, and then it just follows on and on and on and on and on. That I think some accountability in going, you know what? We had to make a quick decision under pressure. Yeah, we've agreed as a group we got that wrong.
Yeah.
And throw your hand up. Fine. I think it's again, it feels yuck to go back on it.
Take the penalty points away. That's fine. Like if you look it back and go, well, do you know what? Probably got that wrong. Take that away. That's absolutely fine. But you can't suddenly turn around and go, yeah. What we'll do is we'll change that 17 seconds to 7 seconds.
Yeah.
That doesn't help anybody. And the other thing as well is, yes, those 7 seconds might have been there. What was the mental state of the driver after that incident? Was it a case of, right, come on, we're getting our head down now and we're really driving the wheels off this thing, and actually they got closer to what they would have been? Do they end up going, oh, for fuck's sake, not again? There's the car behind me's 45 seconds behind, so I'm just going to poodle about.
I'll just get data laps now.
Exactly. Oh, and now I'm 8 seconds behind, whereas actually if I'd have pushed it, I'd have been 1 second in front. And I don't like it.
No, well, it's a lot of not liking it in this episode, isn't it?
Yeah, we are right miserable.
And we've got one more email that may well result in both of us going, we don't like it. It's from Andrew. It's about McLaren. It's about Papaya. It's about team orders. It's a broader question than McLaren specifically, but I enjoy the wording of Andrew's email here. So he says, I'm very confused by the whole McLaren situation, as well as the other teams switching drivers around, because it seems almost like race fixing by a more polite name. Should this not be something the FIA steps in over? So it does link into our conversation earlier around having two teams and, you know, all the rest of it. It's a broader conversation. And it is worth noting that, and I don't know the exact sort of timelines and whatever, but team orders have been banned and then sort of got unbanned and then rebanned and then unbanned, and then there's guidelines on it and all the rest of it. They're pretty blatant these days with them. I don't think you can realistically ban them because there's too many easy ways to execute them with code words and to put enough doubt in that was accidental or whatever, that there's always, you have to be able to do it above board, because otherwise people are going to do it below board anyway and whatever. But race fixing by a more polite name, really interesting wording for me on the idea of team orders. And so I just want to get your thoughts on that, and I suppose to a certain extent how you sit with the idea of I know we've probably just agreed that they're going to happen anyway, but where you sit with
where do you sit with it in the modern age? Because at the point that it was kind of banned and then not banned and banned again would have been pre your existence. Pre you.
As far as I'm concerned, F1 is a team sport. So if F1's a team sport and you have two drivers in your team, in any other team sport, I can use other team members. You know, in AFL, you can have shepherding and whatever. And it's, you know, you could do decoy runs in football, and you can use your other teammates to further the benefit of your team. So I think we are in an outlier of a year this year, because we've got, not really, we had a Mercedes and whatever for a bit, but we've got one team that are just competing amongst themselves, and it just so happens that they've got two drivers that are very close, and I think it puts more emphasis then on those team orders, because you're influencing a title fight more, which doesn't feel right. But if F1 is primarily a team sport and is primarily a constructors championship and an engineering competition that also happens to have an individual element, then you do what's best for the team in orange. And if that is because we've decided that this person should be here or that person should be there or whatever, then you're doing it for the team. It's not about you, about the Orange boys.
Yeah. Fair point. fair point. But
You
that's
don't
not how
agree.
we work, is it? It isn't how we work. We're not. I think people are less so McLaren fans, more so
Yes.
Lando fans. Less so Mercedes, more so George. Your fandom comes towards your driver rather than your team. Your team, I think, is just a byproduct of where that person is at the time.
Yeah.
If your driver moves from Williams to Ferrari, you probably follow that driver from Williams to Ferrari and start walking around in red compared to blue the season before.
Question on that.
Yeah,
Um, I'm a recent F1 person.
yeah, yeah.
I am a post Drive to Survive person.
We don't
Pre-Drive to
shame
Survive,
people on this podcast for that.
pre-Drive to Survive, and to a certain extent, possibly pre-social or the current style
Yeah.
of social. Do you think that's always been the case? Are people now more driver fans because they have more access to those drivers as people? Like, would you previously have been a McLaren, or with the same person, not you specifically, with the same person 15 years ago, been a McLaren fan and all about orange, and are now possibly a Lando or an Oscar fan? Or has it always been, do you think, name first, team second?
That's a fantastic question.
So I'll leave my best for the 36th minute of the podcast.
My gut says you'd have been more team orientated than what you would have been driver orientated, because as you beautifully summed up with regards to the access with social media, you didn't really know who these people were. If they were a world champion, they got quite a bit of airtime, but actually, if it was a Heinz Harald Frenchsen driving around for Jordan, yes, you knew of him, but nobody really. He didn't spend much time being interviewed. It was more kind of the Schumachers and the Hackenens and the like,
Yeah.
that were on the TV the whole time. Oh, Michael, what do you think about going into this Grand Prix? Nobody's talking about Luca Badoa or Pedro Diniz that's driving around in 15th place. They're talking about the guys at the top. Whereas now, even who's kicking around at the back of the grid at the minute? Hulkenberg
Franco
has
Colapinto.
Collia Pinto has such a social presence that he managed to kind of have the title of the preferred driver of the Lap Down podcast for a period of time because of his antics on social media. So, yeah, probably it has changed, and you do follow that driver because you feel like you know them a bit more than what maybe you used to. But the only thing that I can really remember about team orders, and it didn't look great. And if you have not watched it, I'd implore you to go back and do it. I think it was the 2002 Austrian Grand Prix. And it was Rubens Barrichello and Michael Schumacher in the Ferrari. And Barrichello had absolutely dominated that Grand Prix around the Spielbergering or whatever it's called, one track that's not changed in those period of time, which is great. But dominated it, smashed it to pieces. On the radio, you need to let Michael go past. How he let Michael go past was lead and dominate the Grand Prix, coming out of the exit of the final corner on the final lap of the Grand Prix in Austria, took his foot off the accelerator and just let Michael drive past him as he crawled towards the line, and Michael obviously gassed it past him. And then I think from that point there, then that might have started the conversation with regards to banning rules, because it looked a bit shit, didn't it? I dare say if that were to happen again now in 2025, it would still look awful. Yeah. Whereas if they're kind of going, oh yeah, well, switch the positions around on lap 16, people are going, oh, okay, yeah, it don't really matter because we'll sort itself out. They both got to pit again. There might be this other stuff. But if every week it turned out to be that, okay, no, I'll just park myself here and I'll stop and I'll wait for the car that's 24 seconds behind because they had a slow pit stop just to make a point, I think that's when you're starting to bring the sport into disrepute.
Yeah.
Whereas if we're kind of fiddling around with race positioning and stuff midway through the Grand Prix, I don't necessarily think it makes as big of a difference, but it doesn't look nice. We get so little overtaking in Formula One Grand Prix anyway. To have things kind of orchestrated and manipulated, I think makes it feel worse than what it is.
Yeah. No, I think, hey, we've been bloody eloquent today, haven't we, on some ideas?
Yeah, we've done well here. We've done well. Words normally aren't our strong point, but
no, but today has been something quite good. Right, shall we pick some drivers?
Yeah, we shall.
Let's get ourselves some drivers.
I can't remember who gets driver one this week.
No, because we put in a little ChatGPT bit of business last time, didn't we? So
yeah, can I be bothered to scroll back and find out? I'll just let
you. Do you want one or two? Take your pick.
Well,
Well, you're
I said,
behind the championship, you see, so you can have one or two choice.
nah, that's not how it works.
We don't have time on this podcast for you to scroll back through and look. Pick one or two.
Yeah, we don't message each other that much, to be fair. So, yeah. So you were one last week, so I think that makes me one this week.
Right, here it comes for you. Your first driver. You need some points, my boy. You're 26 points behind, I believe.
Oh, go on.
Oh, you've gone past Lando.
No.
To Fernando, who did you see he got a hole in his suspension from a piece of gravel? Like an actual bullet hole in the suspension, which was quite wild.
That's not points.
No, that's not points. And if it is points, it's point. It's not. That's not big money. That's not going to be big money, Alonso. I'll tell you that much. Right. I almost, for the sake of the championship, I don't want big points. But also, go fuck yourself, I want big points. Stop on Albon. I'd prefer him.
Go keep going.
Just Alex Albon, I think.
Yeah, I think you're an Albono.
Okay. I mean, look, he's had a good run of like what P6s, P7s every now and then. So he's a chance.
Pops up a lot in this championship as well.
Oh, there you go. That's a good wedge of the wheel for you to be in.
Oh,
Jorge.
that's where we want to live.
Jorge Russell in Azerbaijan. That's better for you. That's much better.
That's nice.
Jorge Russell.
That's nice. Now, if you could get yourself a Liam Lawson, a Franco Colapinto, a Pierre Gasly, maybe not a Bortoleto because he's actually doing points. No, don't. No.
Charles Leclerc. Charles Leclerc. I've got Charles Leclerc.
Oh, it's not fair, man.
I've got Charles Leclerc. We haven't had a huge amount of Charles Leclerc this year, I don't think.
I think that might be Charles Leclerc's first appearance in the World
You watch him
Drivers'
go and stick it in
Championship
the wall down the main straight now.
Probably, yeah. That's fine because it would just be an incident.
Use that runoff area. How about, by the way, very last thing, Oscar Piastri throwing casually an incident into an actual interview after a Grand Prix. Yeah. It's just so ingrained now that he's incidenting in real life. Right, there you go. So I've got Albon and Leclerc. You have got Alonso and Georgie Russell. Next week, we will be here. I can't tell you which day we will be here next week to recap the Azerbaijan Grand Prix because there's all sorts of travel going on. But in the meantime, if you'd like to see what Dan's doing on his travels, Dan, where should they go and find you?
Yeah, at Dan Jads on the internet. You can find all kinds of cricketing things on there. Okay. How about yourself? You're still streaming? Is there a new Formula One game out? Have you started a Formula One World Championship stream career mode?
No. I am still rebuilding roads in disaster areas on twitch.tv/HeyLookAtAlex if you'd like to go and see me making roads and recovering vehicles and that sort of thing. Right, we will be back next week. If you've made it to this point of the podcast, by the way, you've done bloody well, so you should probably hit like. If you've made it this far, you must have liked it enough, so hit like and maybe share it with someone else. In the meantime, we will see you next week after Baku, when Charles Leclerc is going to take a mighty result and Alex Albon's going to stick it on the podium.
Probably.
Yep. Toodle pip.
No.